Well, hello there. It's Yvonne from Women's Fitness Adventures. Thank you for joining me. And if you are new here, I am Yvonne. I am the founder and CEO of Women's Fitness Adventures. I have been taking, teaching, and training women for hiking and particularly multi day hiking adventures of your choosing or ours all over the world for the past almost 12 years. So, been in the women's health and wellness space for about 20 years now. So, come with a few credentials, and each week I share some hints, some tips, and some insights of things related to hiking, to women, to outdoors, and also share what comes across my desk. And today is an absolute perler. So if you're watching live, please go ahead and say hello. I know lots of people sit here and just watch for a while, but it is nice for me to know who is watching and where you're from. And if you're watching on the replay, please go ahead and say hi as well. And if this is your first time here, let me know. I'm keen and join in the conversation. Please chat away, post questions, share experiences, share comments as well. So I have a great question for you today. And it was something that came across, excuse me, my feed during the week. Isn't that strange? Feed. We would often, like a few years ago, never talk about feed. What would that be? That's what we eat. But my social media feed. And what if we think, what if the way we think about our age shapes how our body actually ages? So I'll read the question again. What if the way you think about your age shapes how your body actually ages? So it is a great thing to share. And I'm going to unpack that because there is some research around it. And if you are part of our community, you'll know that movement and conversation and connection and social and all of those things really make a difference to just our quality of life and how we live. But what if I said they would make a difference to how we age as well? So, hi, Alethea. Hi, Karen. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Brod. And hi, Leonie. So from all over the place. So here is the goss on this one. And I've written it down because it is some research that I'm going to share. There is a psychologist called Dr. Ellen Langer. And hello, Sonia. Who in 1979 did a study, a research study. It was called the counterclockwise study. And she put a group of men in their 70s into a retreat set up as if it was 1959. So for 5 days, they were in this retreat. So it was 1979. For 5 days, they put these men in their 70s into this retreat that was set up as 1959. Everything from the decor to the newspapers to what was on TV to the music to the conversations, the food they ate, and everything. And they were told to act as if they were 20 years younger. So they were told to act as if they were back in this era. And so I'm going to have to pause here because I want you to suggest to me, and it'll take a little while for you to catch up. There's a 30-second delay. I would like you to suggest to me, what do you think happened with that study? So I'll just repeat that study. It was in 1979 by Dr. Ellen Langer. She's at Harvard, a Harvard psychologist researcher, called the counterclockwise study. She put a group of men in their 70s and put them in a retreat for 5 days. And the retreat was set up as if it was 1959. So the retreat was set up as if the men were in their 50s and they were exposed to the decor, the newspaper, the TV, the music, the conversation, everything around the 50s. And they were told to act as if they were not in their 70s, but in their 50s. And what do you think the results were? So you should have caught up by now with the question, what do you think the results of that study were? And hello, Barbara, and hello, Lynn. So hopefully you will catch up. Maybe you just go, I don't know. So let me share. And by the time I share, your comments will hopefully have come through. The results of this study, so where they were put in an environment that was 20, it would be like me, who's just turned 59, being put in the environment where I was 39. Now, what was I doing? I had young kids, so I would have to behave like a 20 something years ago. And I'm sure it would hold if I was put in an environment where what it looked like when I was in my 20s. So CDs were just coming out. The what else? There was no internet, there was no mobile phone. So how would I behave if I was in that environment? So what were the results of that test? The results were that there were measurable improvements in vision, in hearing, in memory, in posture, in grip strength, in joint flexibility, and even in appearance. So that's huge. That is huge. Literally, measurable improvements with no medical intervention in all of those categories. Let me say them again: vision, hearing, memory, posture, grip strength, joint flexibility, and even appearance. Right? Imagine just going away to a retreat for a week, 5 days, and appearing 20 years, well, not 20 years, but visually looking a whole lot younger. And when they interacted with all their friends around them who weren't in the study, the friends in the bigger results of the study all said that they just looked so much different, so much more vibrant. They moved so much better. They, freed themselves up in the world so much to what they were in their real age, their biological age. So Karen, yeah, I wouldn't have guessed it either. Alethea, it's not a TV show or anything. I'll share the Instagram feed in our member or the podcast in our member Facebook group. So the takeaway from that is what she concluded from this study, and she's been doing this study. It's still ongoing. Is that mindset and our environment can reverse the signs of aging. So not, we can't reverse aging. We can't slow down, what happens to the DNA of our body. We can't slow that down and just some of the physical changes, but how we perceive ourselves influences how our bodies respond. So if you think about that, we have a colleague, my husband and I, who when he turned 50, said that, well, I can't do that now because 50-year-olds don't do that. So what do you think in that person's world what would his mind start saying to his body about aging? It would be that you're getting into this older age, which 50 is not an older age, getting into this older age and you can't do that. So you start behaving like that. So that was the thing. How we perceive ourselves influences how our bodies respond. Oh, Alethea, the Women's Fitness Adventures Retreat. If we could all go on it, well, when we go on an adventure, we do come back younger. Let me tell you, younger in the mind, certainly. We might be a bit sore for a few days, but we certainly are coming back younger. So let's think about that. How we perceive ourselves influences how our bodies respond. So, some mornings, this may or may not happen to you, that you get up and you feel that there's every ache and every groan and every, part of your body that wasn't there before screaming at you as you get out of bed. And you will say to yourself, I feel old today. Maybe you don't. And then is that the language that we're saying, the words that we're saying to ourselves, because no one else is in our mind but us, no one else is feeding us that information, is that language we say to ourselves just becoming this self-fulfilling prophecy of I feel old today? And then what does the mind pick up on? Old today. So do we start then behaving whatever old means in your world? So it's really interesting. So what if the way you think about your age actually shapes how your body actually ages? So it is a really powerful example. And the other part of that is what I call the age bubble. So I like my bubble. I live in a beautiful bubble. It's full of things that I want in my world. I blocked out the news. I don't listen to the news anymore. I can choose to go on an app and read the news, but when I read the news, it's in my tone of voice, and it's the topics of my choosing. You might think, well, that's ignorance, but it's not. It's just me protecting my sanity and my mental health from all the negativity that's in the news there. But if I live in an age bubble, if I were to only surround myself, and it comes back to the topic that we had of relevance last week as well, if I was to only surround myself with people of my age and my values and my physical fitness level and my views on things, my opinions, then I would probably become irrelevant pretty soon, and I would be hearing messages, because I'm 59 now, and let's face it, if you're listening here today, then you are not generally the rest of the population, because if you are listening and you are moving freely in the world, you are a very special piece of the population, because most people in my age bracket, so 59, nearly 60, are not moving. They're talking of slowing down. They're talking of retirement, but not in the way of retirement that some of you on here I know have retired, but retirement as in, I'm going to be on the lounge and putting my feet up, of taking it easy. If you start saying that language to yourself, you start to behave that way. Even the language that we talk to ourselves, and I know this is a common thing of, I don't want to get down on the floor because I can't get up off the floor. I don't want to be one of those old people. All of those things start to affect the way that we age. But if we start to step into an environment, and I touched on this last week, an environment of movement where whatever is inside your bubble, and we can protect our bubble, but whatever is inside our bubble has movement, it has challenge, it has community. Your body and your mind will rise to it. So it's like playing tennis against a tennis player who is better than you. You will rise to it. If you play tennis against someone that is a much lower standard than you, then your level of tennis drops. So if you start to put yourself in an environment where everybody's moving, then you will begin to move too, and your body age will respond to that. You can move, more gracefully than someone who doesn't in that space. You have more mobility, you have more stability, you have more freedoms as well. If you put yourself, or in your bubble, you bring into that bubble people that have similar values, but always challenging you with opinions or conversations or ideas or things to do, then you stay relevant and you stay, and you do those things, then your body starts to behave like that age group. But if everyone is in the same bubble, then in the same age group, and they're all talking the same thing, then we are going to age as what we tell our bodies. And a great example of how this works is where, if you remember the TV program where they put the little kids in with the aged care home, and then all of a sudden, after a couple of weeks of immersion with the little kids, the elderly in the home were able to do the most amazing things that they didn't think were possible, going for walks and all sorts of things. So it is about how you think about your age and who you surround yourself with as you age that determines how your body responds to that. Now, there's some great comments that have come in here as well. So Nerida asked, did they measure happiness? I haven't got to that part, Nerida. As I said, it was really quite, just something to my mouse here. It was really quite early on in the podcast that I saw it. So I haven't gone further, and I think there's a whole lot of other research around it as well. Alethea says, my physio just said you'll be motivated to repair if you have a goal and and I know that you do. Yeah, absolutely. So, we were talking today at hiking. So some of you know every Monday I go hiking every Monday morning, and as well as some wonderful hiking and distances and challenges, we also have some amazing conversations. And we were talking about that very fact this morning that having a goal, certainly, but just the ability to get out and keep moving. But when we have a setback, such as an injury, such as maybe maybe a twisted ankle or, just some family matter that occurs, we can go, and I've seen this with women who start out in hiking as well, because they have gone to that point and then decided to do something about it. We can either go right to the edge of the cliff and decide that it's not worth rescuing myself. I'm just going to this is metaphorically, just let myself tip over in terms of my health. I've had an injury and I'm just going to forget it. It's just too hard to come back and kind of metaphorically tip over the cliff. Or you can come to that edge of the cliff and go, it's going to be a hard road, but I can do it. I can surround myself with the people and in my head who want to be successful. So I want that movement. I want that. I want to be with that people, those people, that community, that movement, and then that is how your body responds. So that's one of the conversations we're having this morning. Leonie says, I never felt my bio age. I never feel my bio age either, but if you do some of those studies, the numbers are starting to match up, which is probably not a good thing to say either. Thank you, Helene. Wise words. Kathleen says, I think I saw somewhere you are the product of your closest 3 to 5 people. So if they are positive and energetic, you will be like that, and vice versa. Absolutely, Kathleen. So there is a lot of studies out there that you are, you should have your famous 5 around you, and you can have 5 people in total, or you can have 5 in each field. So you could have 5 in your, 5 in your fitness field, you could have 5 in your financial field. So you could pick it that way as well. But there is a lot of research around that. So and we say to people, if your 5 friends are always on the couch and not moving, and you're the only one, chances are, with all the research they've done, that you will get dragged back into that fold, because 5 against 1 is very hard to resist. It's the same with the other way around. If you are, 5 of your friends, and I have a lot of friends who are very, very good runners, I am absolutely the slowest runner when I'm with them, but they are lifting me up. It's the same analogy as the tennis player. So we can think we're a supreme athlete if the people that we hang around with do little to nothing. And if the people we hang around with are extreme athletes, and we can then think that we're not an athlete at all. So, there's a happy balance in there, but finding that group, that space where you are challenged in every aspect of your life, influences then how you perceive yourself and how your body ages. So great insight there, Kathleen. Thank you. Hello, Marianne. And Patricia says, I enjoy Women's Fitness Adventures so much because I walk and talk with women who are younger and help me to feel capable of doing what I really enjoy. It is certainly helping me physically and mentally as well. Absolutely, Patricia. And I think, that is a great example of what the research has shown, is that you don't necessarily have to hang around with people who are biologically younger, but if you are hanging around with people who perceive that age is not the barrier for what things I can or cannot do. And there's other research that we can still do all the same things that we used to do. We just need a little bit more rest time in between. And they tested that with Serena Williams and Roger Federer with tennis, who were much, much older than their counterparts. When they were still winning Grand Slam titles, they could still do the same thing. They just need a little bit rest day in between. But it is, that is a prime example, Patricia, of, putting the people who lived in the retreat that were up to 20 years younger than them, some of them a lot less, and, told to act. Well, you begin to act like the people around you. And I was recently somewhere, and one of the people worked in an aged care home, and most beautiful lady, but she spoke to everyone like they were in an aged care home, because that was her world. And when even to people who were capable and not needing to be in a home. So the way our bodies respond to things is the sum of what we're actually doing, how we're interacting. So if you step into an environment of movement, just as Patricia has, of challenge, of community, your body and your mind will rise to meet it. And, I have seen our member stories of where you guys are doing things that you never thought possible, 5 years ago, which is truly amazing. But, it's also the voices in our head as well that talk to us about our age bubble. I can't do that now, or I'm running out of time, or I'm this, or I'm that. I can't do that because I'm now 10 years older. We start to believe what we hear most often, and what we hear most often is that own voice in our head. No one else talks to us like that. So our current book club that we're listening to, and book club is next week, Don't Go Gentle, Go to Paris, has, I won't give too much of my summary away for book club next week, but there are some great lines in that book about movement, about who you become, who you surround yourself with, what you do, what challenges there are out there for you, and how your body responds to that as well. And if you're someone who doesn't like walking up and down stairs, not just out in the hiking world, but in general, or are somewhere and you always take the lift, think about Europe, think about those older cities where they don't have lifts, where the people of all ages, young and old, live in 6-story buildings where they have to cart things up and down the stairs every day. So they're not saying I'm too old for stairs. They're just saying to get the groceries inside, I need to go up and down the stairs. So our hiking environments and our communities lift us out of that bubble. And why do I say that? Because a hiking community, it puts you into that nature space. And we all know that nature and the forest bathing and just being out there in nature is really, really good for us. And then the community that supports you will encourage you to walk further, will encourage you to walk maybe a little bit faster, or to try some uneven surfaces, or do things that you wouldn't normally do, or with the backdrop of some fantastic conversations as well. So, I was just chatting to someone who's recent today, about 10 minutes ago, who's recently booked onto one of our trips. And she was wondering the age group and, would she be too old or would she be too young? And I think that when you're surrounded by, in our case in particular, for those in our community, by women who are walking, by women who are talking, by women who are wise, and are really just proving what's possible, then that is inspiration for all of us, regardless of our age, and bringing us back to how we behave, who we hang around with, is how our bodies respond to how we age. And each hike is like a mindset shift. And I know it's a transformation, but this mindset reset of, I can still do this, I'm strong, and I'm here. And right now, if you can say that, and I know some of us right now, there's a lot of, nasty things going around where there is a lot of people who are quite unwell at the moment, and hopefully that will pass. But I can still do this. I might have to put it on pause maybe, but I can still do this. It's not an age thing. It's just a random thing. I am strong and I belong here. Then I think that is a great way to um, using the mindset and the environment on how we can reverse the signs of aging. So how we perceive ourselves influences how our bodies respond. So I know we spoke a few weeks ago, and I shared it in the social feeds about Brod's comments. So Brod, you're here, I know. I'm a slow walker, but I'm doing better than the person who says, I'll do it one day, or I'll do it when I retire. And I'll do it when one day means I'll never do it. And I'll do it when I retire means, well, you shouldn't, because, that day may never come. The right time to do that is now. So stepping out of that later on bubble and actually into the adventure bubble. So stepping into yourself. So I've got another story I'm going to share in a minute, but I'm wondering, what bubble do you think you're in? Are you living in the age bubble? Are you living in the, well, not the age bubble, because we're all in an age bubble, but the bubble that will challenge you, the bubble that you think, oh, maybe I have got some of that aging thinking of, if I tell myself I can't do this, then I can't do this. And then does that perceive how my body responds? So I'd love to know your thoughts on that. So I want for all of you to be in that bubble of norm, of where movement and possibility are the norm for everyone. I think that the more we can do that, the more we invest in our future selves. So I want to share, Alethea, your story. I know it got sent through and we haven't yet published it. But Alethea joined quite a few years ago, and she said, before joining, my life was very much sedentary every day for many years. her job, I know she's retired, but she's a very active retired person. Her job involves sitting a lot of stress. And she says, these are her words: I would come home, drink wine, eat wrong, and sit on the lounge. And exercise and hiking were just not something that I thought of. Since she became a member, she increased her social circle in many ways. She has our Zoom friends that she meets with every week through the different online things that we do. And now has friends from all over Australia that she can adventure with, not only on our adventures, but on her very own ones as well. So over 2 years. And the friendships that support you, and the friendships across all the ages through all the different aspects of our life. And social connection as well. Social connection, the social connections you have or don't have will also determine how you perceive yourself and how your body responds to that, and how it responds is also an aspect of aging. So this whole quality of life wheel. And she says here, life is busy, and I was always using the too busy for my fitness line. So the commitments are in her diary, and she's doing all these other exercises as well. And I know, Alethea, you are just one unstoppable woman. But she says to anyone, just do it. And I know for all of us in the community, and such a beautiful community it is, that we are all, even though the retreat hasn't been set up, we are all in this retreat set up as if it was, another generation, because we are all learning from the generations above us, and we are all teaching the generations below us of how we think about ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, who we surround ourselves with, and how we move in the world are all making a difference in every little aspect of our life. And just that, how we perceive ourselves. And if you're a woman around my age, you know that there are a lot of things from generations above and and news and stuff at the time that screwed us up in terms of the messages that kept coming out to us. But we are showing generations below us and generations above just how we perceive ourselves influences how our bodies respond. And it is amazing to see that there are so many women out there who are willing to put their future selves first by moving, by creating community, by creating connection, by having those hard conversations with each other, and getting out and adventuring because they know the time is now, and how how precious time is as well. But you know what? The science shows it. So it's called the counterclockwise study. I'll put some notes in tomorrow into our member Facebook group. So the research or the science shows it. Our community proves it, that how you perceive yourself is how you age, and that mindset and movement is really important. And the time is not later. The time is actually now to do stuff. So Jillian says, it's such a good feeling to feel you belong, and I am in the I am well enough bubble. Yeah, awesome, Jillian. And I do hope, I didn't catch you on the weekend, that you're feeling great. And Alethea says, I have tears, amazing community. It is an amazing community, but I just want to come back to that line, that the takeaway from the research, and you can put a spin on the research however you want, but when you're told to act as if you're 20 years younger, and the result, measurable improvements in vision, hearing, memory, posture, grip strength, joint flexibility, and even appearance. So if someone said to you, act 20 years younger for the next 5 days, what would you do? What were you doing then? Or what would you do if you had the body of X? And I guarantee you that you'd probably still be able to do some of that stuff. And if you couldn't, it would be a nice wake-up call to go, why can't I do that? What did I stop doing that led me to be where I am now, that I can't do now that I did back then? What did I stop doing? Did I not get out of bed early enough? Did I stop attending that class? Did I stop socializing? Did I stop this? Did I stop that? I challenge you to think about that. And the key takeaway, that mindset and environment can reverse the signs of aging. So there is that study of the American presidents who, not so much now, I won't get into the US for that comment, who they showed their pictures before, their hair color before they went into office and after they went into office, and their face, and just how much they had aged. So, you know, how we perceive ourselves, so our mindset and environment can reverse signs of aging. So how we perceive ourselves influences how our bodies respond. So that is it from me for today. So I hope you enjoyed today's session, and if you have any further comments after we finish, just add them in here, because they really do help others who search, and the replay will be available over on YouTube as well. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to catching up with you next week. See you then.